What's the fun fact about their mascot? Buff Nation, what up? BWB, my bandwagon buffs. I know y'all here. It's your man's Harry Billion. I got a fun video for y'all today. For most of y'all who didn't know, we are in the Pac-12 conference and they have their schedule out. Some of y'all already seen it. I wanted to present the schedule to some and have a little bit of fun with the schedule. Expert predictions are in, guys. Experts have already predicted wins and losses. I want to present all of that tonight on this video. Give you some fun facts about the other team. We're going to go ahead and get to work. But before we do that, guys, you know what to do. Give me a two-piece uppercut to that subscribe button. Appreciate you clicking that thumbs up button. Always make sure you comment. You can get your merch at the TLP Sports Club Amazon storefront. The information is right there on your screen. The link will also be in the description. That is all the business that I have. Let's get into the video. If you're one of those people that have already seen the schedule, trust me, I got a little something for you too. I'm not just going to give you the schedule. We're going to make it a little fun. The Liberian perspective, we're going to add that Liberian hot sauce to it. First game is going to be against Texas Christian University, that is TCU. And if you didn't know that they were called Texas Christian University, you already learned something. Bada boom, bada bang, there you go. That's going to be on September the 2nd. It's going to be an away game. We're going to Texas to go play them on their home field. They have home field advantage. They are coming off a national embarrassment. They're going to have a little bit of chip on their shoulders. These boys ain't going to be playing fair. I guarantee you their fans are going to be ready for us. This is going to be a slugfest. I was about to give you guys my expert prediction, but I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. I'm not an expert yet in college football. A little bit of information on how predictions work. I don't want nobody to get the false impression of a prediction. Basically, a prediction works from an expert who already knows the sport, who's been around the sport, knows the teams, who knows the recruiting process, have watched long enough, has made prior predictions, understand, is a sportscaster, is an announcer, somebody who is inside, who has the fiber of the sport, who has the ingrain, who is in there, who's talking about these things. He's crunching data. His brain is full of mad information. Somebody who can break down the data. When I thought about that kind of information, I was like, wait a minute. If I come up here and I try to give that kind of information, prediction to these people, they're going to be like, Harry B, you ain't about to pour one on us because you told us you ain't know nothing about no college football. So how you about to give us predictions? Nobody cares about your daggone predictions. You don't know what you're talking about. But I want to warn you guys, these are just early predictions. These are not set in stone. Let me go ahead and introduce you to my expert predictor. Tony Cosolo is a writer from the Buffalo Wire, which is a connection of the USA Today. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see how many days we have left to opening day, to kickoff. So fun fact for Texas Christian University, guys, what's the fun fact about their mascot? Their mascot is the horned frog. So the horned frog is actually not a frog. The horned frog is actually a lizard. Here, glizzard. And the reason why they call it a frog is because its fighting stance to fight off its predators, those who want to do harm to the lizard. He's going to get into his little stance and then he's going to puff himself up to look a little bigger. And then his little horn that's actually made of an actual bone is going to stick out. And guess what? He can shoot blood out of his eyes that'll go 5 feet. That's going to put fear into his predators. That makes him very hard for his predators to actually grab him and chunk him down. Once he gets into his fighting stance, he's a little round, so it looks like a frog. That's why they call it the horned frog, but it's actually a lizard. He can camouflage himself, so it makes it really hard for his predators to see him. For humans, you don't have to be afraid of it. He's actually docile. Docile means that he's submissive creature. This is how Tony has it. This is a too early game-by-game prediction. This is in January. We got a long way to go. Tony got us winning this game 1-0. 1-0 at TCU. Even though these kids are going to be so amped and so ready, they're going to have 2 ammunitions in their hands. Coach Prime and his media darling, the national embarrassment in their hands, and they're going to be ready to blow. Coach Prime starts 1-0 as the Buffaloes take down the reigning national runner-up in Fort Worth. Sheesh. Tony, you are a bold man. What's the score? Tony got us winning 45-38. We're going to whip them into submission. We're moving on, guys. On September the 9th, we're going to be playing the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and we're playing them on our field. So this is going to be our first home game. We have home field advantage. This is going to be the game that everybody's going to come to. We're going to be playing on our home turf. We're going to have all of the students there. You're going to have the student section called the C Unit. They're going to be screaming. All of the celebrities are going to be there. Kevin Hart, Snoop Doggy. You're going to be seeing a whole lot of people coming in their garbs, coming in Black Panther uniforms. Everybody's going to be at this game. That's September the 9th, Nebraska Cornhuskers. Guys, All right, so here's the fun fact. What's the fun fact about their mascot? Before the 1900s, they were known as the Buck Eaters. I don't really know. Don't ask me. I didn't really do the homework about why they were called Buck Eaters. I just want to give you something real quick, okay? Right when the century turned, guys, they were ready to change that name from the Buck Eaters. A sports writer named Cy Sherman, the sports editor from the Lincoln Journal-Star Sports, he heard somebody say something. So Nebraska had this game with Iowa. Iowa was pretty much supposed to smash their mouth in, but there was an upset. So Nebraska won that game. Some upset fan used a derogatory term, okay? Some upset fan from the Iowa team, just like the Miami fans are calling Permani some names and his mom some names and all of that. When fans get upset, they say some derogatory stuff. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. Let me say it in the accent what I think they would have used at the time. He was like, what's wrong with y'all? We supposed to beat them daggone corn huskers. Y'all gonna let them daggone corn huskers beat us? Cy Sherman, who's the editor, who was the sports writer, he hears that. He was like, oh, wait a minute. That sounds pretty good. You know, like the rappers, they took that other word and then they turned it into a billion-dollar industry. I ain't saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying. Anyway, it was a derogatory term because in Nebraska, they got the big old cornfields and whatever. So before they had the machines, people had to actually use their hands. You have a bunch of people like the cotton pickers of that. This is a slippery slope? Okay, anyway. So Nebraska has those big cornfields, guys. So you have people who will peel the skin off the corn. Those people were called corn huskers. That's how you husk a corn. You would take the skin off. You needed people to take the skin off before they had the machines, right? Early days before they had machines. Now they got cotton picking machines. Before that, you have people who had to pick the cotton. People who would peel the skin off the corn. Those people were known as corn huskers. When you got those big cornfields and you got those people out there with the big bags and husking all day and then bringing the corn for it to get processed, and you have cornmeal, you got your corn starch and all of these things. That's how they did it back in the day. The Iowa fans, they were upset that their team lost, so somebody was like, you gonna let those daggone corn huskers beat us? It was a derogatory term at the time, but like the rappers would say, the rest is history, my N-word. So that's the fun fact about Nebraska and their team. So now we're gonna head over to Tony. How we looking on September the 9th against the corn Huskers? All right, week number 2. Tony said based on his historical information, his historical analysis, his historical priors that he has, based on all of that information that he knows from his data crunching brain and his beat writing, Tony says, we winning. We gonna beat these suckers. Tony got us 2-0 now. This is not from me, Harry. This is coming from the expert. So Tony says the Buffaloes defend their home turf while establishing a 2-game win streak. We are streaking. Got us all hot now. You got us all steamed up. We're getting excited over here, Tony. Don't play with us. I hope you know what you're talking about. So what's the score, Tony? 31-24. We're 2-0 and we're moving on. This is next on our schedule, September the 16th. This is a big deal. This one is about to be a problem in the Rocky Mountains. This one is called the Rocky Mountain Showdown with the Colorado State Rams. Everybody on that side of town, you already know. If you live in a college town, guys, you already know the temperature, what it's going to be like. There's going to be two sides. On this side, we got the Rams, who are probably going to be heated, that nobody's talking about them. Oh, y'all just want to talk about Deion Sanders or Coach Prime and all his little media darling, all the attention. We right over here. We right across the street. Y'all want to play with us, man? If you ever lived in a college town, you know how football is. This is going to be a match that's going to rock that town. All of the times and dates have not been stated yet. What TV station is going to be playing at? We ought to assume that because Coach Prime is a high status guy, that most of our games are going to be televised. I'm almost going to guarantee you that Coach Prime is probably working on a big television deal for most of his games. Coach Prime is going to be making some calls. You already know how Coach Prime is. Coach Prime wants the TV time because if it's some local Pac12 television, the signal's not going to be strong enough to reach us over here in New York so I can cover these games. I'm definitely going to be covering the games, guys, for sure. Here's the fun fact. What's the fun fact about their mascot? Their mascot is the Ram. So how did they get the Ram? In 1945, the student body had a contest so that they can name themselves. The students just said, look, we got to vote for a name, okay? We need a name. They voted. They came up with the Rams. That's the straight up information. So in 1946, 1 year later, they had a real live Ram that would come to the game. His name was Buck. Buck the Ram. So Buck did not last forever. So I can imagine some of these rude fans, especially the Miami fans, would probably be like, Buck those Rams. I'm sure that didn't sit well. Maybe that was a problem. So this Buck thing ain't working. Buck is too close to that other word. So in 1954, the alumni president, his name was Morgan. They didn't give me a last name. Sorry, guys. 1954, he had an epiphany. So in a dream, no, not in a dream. At the time, the name of the college was Colorado Agriculture and Mechanic Arts. That was the name. So he was like, Colorado Agriculture Mechanic. Colorado Agricultural Mechanic. C-A-M. Cam. So President Morgan, he was like, hey, why don't we just call them Cam the Ram? And bada boom, bada bang. Now they got Cam the Ram. That's how they got their name. That's why you will see at their games, you will see Cam the Ram. Okay? That's how they got Cam the Ram. I don't make this stuff up. This is not coming from me. This is coming from a little bit of research on their site. That's their story, not mine. We're moving right along. Come on, Tony. Tell me. Tony's our crystal ball, baby. How we doing in this Rocky Mountain Showdown, Tony? Tony Cosolo is savage. Tony says we are rolling over the Rams. The Buffalo is going to smack the Rams at the stadium, and the score is going to be 49-14. That gives us a little bit of confidence, guys. We're now 3-0, and we're moving on. So September the 23rd, you know it's getting a little colder now. The summer is over. All right, so in week number 4, we are playing the Oregon Ducks. It's starting to get a little colder on the East Coast, so I'm sure it's snowing over there in the mountains. So the kids are back into school. Backpacks are packed. If you live in Colorado, you're on that side of town, what's the temperature like on September the 23rd, like late September? What's the fun fact about Oregon Ducks? What's the fun fact about their mascot? 1890s, right before the turn of the century, they were known as the Web Foots. Was a nickname or associated with a group of fishermen who settled on the coast of Massachusetts. They were very instrumental in the American Revolutionary War. They were actually heroes in that war. So in 1926, the school held a naming contest, and the winner of that naming contest was an Oregonian sports editor named L.H. Gregory. So L.H. Gregory decided, listen, that name is pretty cool. These were heroes. Let's honor them, and let's just make this name official. So the Webfoots became official. In the 1920s, they were like, everybody else have animals. Let's find an animal. When you think about web feet, what animal do you think about? Hey, Junior, these feet look like some duck feet. Oh, quack, quack. So they started using the duck as a mascot. They started associating the ducks with the web feet. Around that time, the sports writers, the headline writers, and the journalists to write their headlines started using duck because it was much easier than web feet. So it wasn't until like the 1940s, the image of Donald Duck became associated with the team. But how to get Donald Duck? So Leo Harris, the athletic director at the time, he made a phone call to his buddy, his homie. He was like, hey, yo, Walt Disney, bro, can we use that duck? Walt Disney was like, sure. They had a handshake, Leo Harris, Walt Disney. With that handshake, they had permission to use Donald Duck as their official mascot. Tell me your favorite mascot story, the one that you heard, the one that you can remember in the comments. So let's go ahead and shoot it over to Tony Cosolo and see how we stack up with this team. All right, so our week number 4 game with the Oregon Ducks. Tony has us losing. We are taking the L. Tony says the Ducks hand Colorado is first loss of the season in Eugene. This is going to be a tight game. They're going to win 38-31. This is a pretty big conference. This conference right here, anybody can win on any given Saturday. College plays on Saturdays, not on Sundays. Pac-12 is a major conference that fights for a bowl every single year. So anybody can win, but the fact that this is a 38-31 game is a really good sign for us. What it's going to do is going to give us some data that we need. Now we know what's up. We need to regroup. We're coming off of a high recruiting time. Everybody's talking about us. We got our first loss. It's going to ground these kids just a little bit so they can huckle down, start getting down to the nitty gritty. This is a very tough conference. So now this is our first home loss. We're now 3-1. 3-1, not a bad start for a team that everybody's counting out. It was a very tight game. We caught the L, but we got to keep our head up and move on to the next game. We took the L at Oregon. The Ducks quacked us, but now we are at USC, the USC Trojans. September 30th, summer's pretty much done. We're saying goodbye to summer. It's time for us to huckle down, get those jackets. All you guys that are still on vacation, stop playing with me. Come back home. We're 3-1, but we're taking this personal. Now we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, and we're ready to play. Them boys is ready. Travis is ready. Promani is ready. Shador's ready with that arm, okay? We got Shiloh in the back. He's ready. The linemen, they got blood in their eyes. They're ready to play. But what's the fun fact about the Trojans? What's the fun fact about their mascot? If you didn't know before, the sports writers have picked the names for some major schools. So we got another sports writer here, LA Times sports writer named Owen Bird. So in 1912, after a game, he likened the fighting spirit of the athletes, got back to his clack, 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 clack typewriter, and he was ready to write. If you remember the ancient Trojans who fought the Greek, he likened their spirit and their fight to the ancient Trojans, and that's how they got their name, the Trojans. So the story goes, in 1961, Bob Jenny, who was the special events director at the school, and a junior from the school named Eddie Tenenbaum, they went to the Rose Parade, and they saw this guy riding this white horse. His name was Richard Sacco, or Richard Succo. And they went up to Richard, and it was like, yo, Richard, can you do us a favor? Can you ride your horse in the Coliseum when we play our games? So Richard was like, sure. sure. So in 1961, Richard would go through the Coliseum, and during the games, Richard would get on his horse and he would giddy up. He would ride and everybody would go crazy. That's how they got their mascot. If you see a white horse with them, that's called the Traveler. That's all fun and good, guys, but how do we square up with these USC Trojans? So in week number 5, these are our Pac-12 foes, according to Tony. So these guys have been whipping out butt for a long time. Coach Prime came in and says, I put an X on this game on my calendar because you guys have been giving us a problem for too long. It ain't going to happen no more. We shut them down. Tony has us beating these guys because our spirits are now high. We're back on track. We give them the L. We got the W. Close game. We did win, but only by 4 points, guys. 28-24. We got the win. We're looking pretty good, so let's go into our next match. September is over. We are now in October. It's definitely cold on the East Coast. October the 7th, they are going to Arizona. They're going to the desert to play the Sun Devils on their turf. Everybody's gunning for us. Keep that in mind. We are targets no matter what stadium we play at in this year. The Sun Devils brought everybody out. Come see Coach Prime take the L. Their marketing team and their people, you guys come. This is their motivation to pack their stadium to sell more tickets. Come see us defeat these media darlings. The Coach Prime hype is going to end today. Can you just imagine what they're going to be saying to sell some tickets? If I was there writing their stuff, trust me, I would sell the whole stadium and the parking lot out because I would be writing some serious stuff. Let's take these dudes down. Let's kick Coach Prime and all of his media teams. Let's kick him out of the stadium. The first half, I want to get 100 points. That's what I would be writing if I was them. BWB, bandwagon buff, so you already know how I'm feeling. I'm just saying, if I was them. Let's get to the fun fact. What's the fun fact about their mascot? This story is pretty interesting. It's pretty weird to me, but hey, it's their story. It's not mine, okay? In 1946, on a beautiful sunny day, the track coach from the school, his name is Don Kenzo. Don Kenzo, on that nice, beautiful sunny day, he goes on a beautiful run along the Salt River bed. So while he's running along the Salt River bed, Coach Kenzo comes upon what's materializing as a dust storm, and the dust storm starts to dance and form in the shape of a sun devil. And right there, Coach Don Kenzo got this great idea. He was like, boom, that's it. We should be called the Sun Devils. Yeah, that's the story. I just said it in a weird way, but that is the story. Prior to that story, they were known as the Bulldogs, but after 1946, the student body voted. They was like, man, we're going with the track coach, okay? I like that Sun Devil idea. And the Sun Devil became their name. All right, that's a pretty cool story, but how do we shape up with these Sun Devils? Please go into the comment, tell me what's your favorite story so far. So Tony says, Colorado overcomes a sluggish start, coming off the upset over USC to take down ASU in the waning moments of the game. Because we're just coming off of the upset, so we're a little high. We're dancing going into the stadium. We just upset one of our biggest foe in USC. We're feeling ourselves just a little bit. We go up in that stadium thinking like we got to walk over these dudes. They're like, nope. The first half is a little tough, but we do pull through. In the end, 24-21. We are 5-1. Tony, whatever work you're doing over there, they need to give you a raise because a lot of us are feeling a little nervous about this one. Coach Prime got to get these guys ready for the next game. So let's go ahead and see what that next game is. All right, guys, so this is part 1 of this video. We got 12 games and the information is going to be pretty long. I wanted to break it up so that we can get through this information. I want everybody to enjoy the video. So set that bell notification when we drop part 2. It's going to be on the page real soon. Thank you for watching part 1. We'll see you on part 2.